Care nurse. Nurse care shadowing the robot 2:18 a.m. I watch the system light up. A patient's vitals populate the monitor. The cursor doesn't hesitate. No second glance at the patient's face. No pause at the doorway to observe breathing. The robot starts immediately. When I did these rounds, I entered the room and forced myself to slow down. The staffing ratios screamed. I resisted. The robot has no ratios to resist. It simply assesses. The numbers load: heart rate, blood pressure, temperature, O2 saturation. The system confirms each parameter in milliseconds. Normal, 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 normal. When I checked these same vitals, I checked them twice. Sometimes lingered. Not because I missed anything, because slowing down revealed what speed concealed. The robot doesn't slow down. It accelerates through certainty. Then something shifts. The system pauses. Not like I paused, but it pauses. All vitals within range, but the pattern recognition model activates. I watch it scan the trend lines. Heart rate normal, but elevated from baseline. Blood pressure normal, but lower than yesterday. I caught this the same way. Not from individual readings, from the trajectory. I called it intuition, built from watching patients decline. The robot calls it statistical deviation from patient-specific baseline patterns. Different language. Same warning. Intake and output records load. The fluid balance looks acceptable, within limits even. When I reviewed these, I looked slowly, searching for rhythm. The patient drank less overnight. Urine output decreased slightly. Each number individually unremarkable. The robot sees it faster, not because it reads better, because it's comparing this patient against 12,000 similar post-surgical cases simultaneously. It recognizes the signature. Early sepsis patterns that appeared subtle before becoming obvious. Escalation probability, 42% higher than baseline. I would have stepped closer here, touched the patient's skin, felt for warmth, looked at capillary refill, listened to the quality of their voice when they answered my questions. The robot doesn't touch, it calculates. The alert escalates, not to immediate code, to heightened surveillance protocol. It flags for physician notification, the same call I would have made, the one not triggered by standard parameters. This is where we converge. I intervened early on purpose because I learned that crises announce themselves quietly first. The robot intervenes early because its training data proved the same thing through repetition. I relied on years of patients who coded unexpectedly. The robot relied on thousands of subtle deteriorations it absorbed. The notification triggers. When I called a doctor at 2:18 a.m. with normal vitals, I worried about their response, about being wrong, about the charge nurse asking why I escalated a stable patient. The robot doesn't worry. It simply outputs. Patient requires physician assessment. Early warning score elevated. The documentation is cleaner than mine ever was. More precise, less apologetic. 6 hours later, the patient receives antibiotics. Not because the robot caught something I would have missed, because it caught the same thing I learned to catch, but it caught it without shift fatigue, without 5 other patients calling, without the 2:18 a.m. fog. I saw decline through experience. The robot saw decline through patterns. I learned from years at the bedside. It learned from thousands of subtle warnings. When I watch it work, I'm not watching replacement. I'm watching my instincts translated into algorithms.